Our next speaker is Jen Thabit, who you've met before today. Jen leads DARPA's Small Business Programs Office, which means she's got the full scoop on DARPA's Sbirsttr program and strategy, the way these programs invest in innovative technology, and the path for innovators like you. Over to you, Jen.
All right. Before I dive in, I wanted to take a quick minute to talk about something that I don't think we've talked about quite enough today. I think, Tiffany brought up the warfighter. And I think that's really important to think about because a lot of times people think about the department being drones and satellites or maybe tanks and guns and ammos, right? But we actually really are holistically serving the warfighter. And a lot of times when I'm traveling and talking to small businesses, they're talking about what they do and they don't realize that, maybe they're in the commercial space, but actually something that they're doing could actually change way of life for people. And I think if you can change the way of life for people, there's probably a home for you in the department. And so as we go down this path more today, think about that as you're hearing about some of our smaller efforts, smaller in dollar value, but not smaller in significance and impact. And think about maybe where you actually could fit in where otherwise you wouldn't have thought that. So with that said, I'm going to totally ignore the speaker timer, sorry. And I am going to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is the SBIR and STTR program. Any of you familiar with the SBIR and STTR program? All right. Any of you familiar with DARPA's SBIR and STTR program? All right. Well, yes, I know you are, Mark. Well, we do things, as you can probably guess, a little different at DARPA. So our SBIR and STTR program is really designed to help supplement and support the work that our program managers at DARPA are doing. It's not meant to really be a one-off. It's really meant to be tied in directly to the work that our technical offices are producing. And so that being said, we kind of operate on 4 unique pillars. We have a just-in-time topic development process. And what does that mean? That means that I don't go around and say, okay, it's the start of the fiscal year. Let me know if you have an idea. The program managers come and they work with the SBIR STTR team and say, hey, I've got a program idea and there's a piece I can carve out for a small business. Let me develop a topic. They are developing topics as they are needed, not when they are called for. So we're always putting out topics. First Wednesday of every month is the DoD cycle. I would say typically there's not a month that goes by that we don't put a topic out. So we are doing these just-in-time topic developments because that's what suits the mission and that's what suits the tenure of our DARPA PMs. We also tie our topics to DARPA programs. Now, I say this, and we talk about innovation on the slide, and that kind of seems tongue-in-cheek. Why wouldn't these topics be tied to DARPA programs? But that just doesn't happen across the rest of the federal government. And so by tying these topics to DARPA programs and then having our program managers be the ones that actually create these topics, well, what we're doing is we're really availing small businesses as a lot of the same benefits they would have if they were working on a larger program. And in fact, a lot of times the program managers will do check-ins quarterly or monthly, not just with their large programs, but with the SBIRs that are associated with it. So you're really engaging in strong technical discussions and transition discussions at the outset with them. What that does is that really helps set these topics up, the small businesses up for success. Our 4th pillar, I'm going to defer. It's our SBIR Exxon. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But I really want to keep your attention. And so to do that, I want to tell you about the money. So the SBIR and STTR program is one of the most heavily regulated programs in the country. We do have caps and limits, but we bust through them all the time because we're DARPA. So our phase 1s are typically a feasibility study. They go about 6 months and they're $250,000. We are $250,000, not $250,000 and 1 cent, but $250,000. Why? Because thanks to Mac, who you met earlier, we now actually issue purchase orders for our phase 1s. So we can get you on contract in a week. Yep, a week. That is the max we can give you to stay under the simplified acquisition threshold, and that is what we do. We kind of figure it's better to get you on contract sooner and get you to work rather than give you $270,000 and have you wait 6 months for a contract. Phase twos. Our phase twos are about $1.8 million. We do actually bust that quite frequently because sometimes what we do at DARPA is so specialized or unique, we need to go up in dollar value. It's a waiver process that we do all the time, but typically I would say $1.8 million, and we'll get to our contracting on that in a minute. We also have an enhancement or a matching program. If you find $500,000 in outside funding, I will match you $500,000. And then we do phase threes infrequently, but at times, and that's not SBIR dollars, but we do help facilitate your SBIRs to go on to a phase three. Oh, I think I turned that off. Let's see. All right. Now, because we're DARPA, we don't just do things the same way as everyone else. So we actually, I used to call this my toolbox slide. It's my placemat for you of the various ways that we can use the SBIR and STTR program. Phase ones and direct to phase twos, well, that's how we release our topics. That's pretty standard. And I would say about a third of our topics are released as phase ones, a third are direct to phase twos, and a third we kind of open up that you can put a phase one or a direct to phase two proposal in. But now if we move on down, this is where we start getting really excited, right? We also do a lot of phase twos. A lot of people don't realize that they can have a phase twos for a SBIR and STTR. They can be sequential. They can be concurrent or years apart. And why that's important is our PMs are on limited tenures here. So sometimes the work that you guys are doing is so important that we actually have to issue concurrent phase twos so that we can help get you to that finish line quicker while the program manager is here and maybe to be in line with the POM cycle at one of the services. If we slide across the screen, you'll see the adoption process. That's also commonly referred to as cross-agency awards. Now, what does that mean? That means our PMs are here for limited tenure, and they've got a gap in their program. Or there is a technology that has come out of their program that they had never actually envisioned. And that company's had a SBIR and STTR before. And what do? We adopt them. If you have ever had a SBIR and STTR and capped out at phase one or only got one phase two, you are eligible for adoption because, as I said, you can have up to 2 phase twos, sequential, concurrent, or years apart. So I encourage you, as you guys are reaching out to our program managers and as you're learning how to write emails in the form of the Hallmeyer, right? If you are eligible for an adoption, tell them. I used to have a colleague, a former PM, that used to offer this advice, but he's gone, so now it's mine. That I ask you to put together like a bingo box. And on the left side, put all the contract numbers and maybe a quick little synopsis of what it is. And then across the top, phase one, phase two, second phase two, phase three, and put a green dot or red dot, however you want, to get their attention so that they know I am eligible for adoption. Now, why does that matter? Well, it matters because it's my money. It's SBIR and STTR money, and everybody knows it's always easy to get your aunt's money. It's a lot harder to go and get mom and dad's money. So instead of having to go to the director or the deputy director of the agency, they just come by my office and say, I'm at this really cool company in Montana, and I'd like to adopt them. And we're off to the races. I will also mention that typically that's about a 45-day timeline. 45 days from the time that you get a email from us saying drop a proposal in, we review it, hopefully it gets through selection, and then we fund you. So it is a great, quick process. My other shout out, because I am the small business person, is that's not just a DARPA thing. So if you guys have SBIRs or STTRs and there's another agency that might be interested, talk to them too, because they all have this resource and tool available to them. Going down the screen to close out, right, we have our matching program, which I talked about, and then we have co-funds. Remember I said we bust through the ceilings a lot of times. So a lot of times we get money from other agencies to supplement and support the work that we are doing. Now we do that for a variety of reasons. One, maybe they have money they can't spend, but two, the most important is maybe they're really interested in what we do. Right? You've heard from our program managers today about where we are in the TRL scale. I will tell you that DARPA is where you begin. but it's never going to be where you end, right? We don't make things, buy things, build things. Andy said it, we don't have labs. So really what we need to do is help invest in you so that you can then transition, so that it's not the one and only stop, that you're not a one-hit wonder, that this is just the first stop on your journey. And so a lot of times we will take co-funding from other agencies because it really helps set you up for transition success. And now we'll get to my Sbirsttr. Our Sbirsttr was a pilot, and you are going to hear from one of our performers in a little bit. And it aimed to ask the question, if we could give you a little more money at the outset, and if we could more clearly help you define transition and commercialization milestones, which again, as you've heard from the program managers, sometimes that's not so easy. Sometimes, depending on the office, that can be kind of squishy. So if we can really help you define those transition and commercialization milestones and give you a little more money, can we help you cross that valley of death quicker? Can we help you become a successful business that can scale? We started this in 2021, and I will say every tech office, with the exception of MTO, because they've had other things going on, has actually done a Sbirsttr. And so far, our results have been beyond tremendous. I'm going to hold on what those results are because we're going to get to that in a minute. But you can see here, it also went to 50% of all Sbirsttr awards are made to first-time DARPA performers, right? Maybe offering a little bit more money really engages you guys to throw your hat in the ring, right? We've done 10 topic areas, and then 61% of proposals came from first-time DARPA performers. The goal really is to try to become approachable and lower those barriers to get you guys involved with us. But we can't stop there, right? I've transformed the program. We have 4 pillars that make this more accessible to you. But then we needed to think about contracting, right? $250,000, while is a lot of money, it's really hard if you have to wait 6 months to a year to get that. It's really hard to book that revenue. And so when Mac joined the team about a year and a half ago, I challenged him, and he did it. He built a team of dedicated contracting specialists and really dove in. Now, why is this important? They've already talked about this. Well, because I want to double down on this a little bit. Because what we did was really look at the entire process. We looked at what are we asking you for, and do we really need all the information that we're asking for, and how can we move quicker? I like to say that we maybe put the brakes on a little bit to go fast. We kind of took a strategic pause and really went through all of our materials so that we could update things so that we can move quick. So what did he do? We streamlined the application process. I don't see him in the room, so if I get this wrong, you guys can blame him. I believe our cost template now for phase 2s is 1 page. We changed our cost evaluation process so that we could move quicker. And Max said it earlier in his session, but it really bears repeating. An OT award in 4 days, $1.8 million. Now, how did we do that? We took a little bit of time up front. We took an extra week for us before we even released the topic to really review, make sure we were asking the right questions, asking for the information that we needed, so that by the time source selection came and notices of award were coming, we could do that in 4 days. He's done such a great job, but I have pushed him to say, hey, what comes next? So stay tuned for that. But I really want to double down on that because that really hopefully demonstrates our commitment to you guys. 27 to 29% of the work that DARPA does each year is with small businesses. That far exceeds the Sbirsttr and STTR program. Our budget is about $130 million. There's 4.2 billion, that's billion with a B, in the agency. Small business is really what drives innovation. And the Sbirsttr program is one pathway that we are really trying to reform and reach you, but you're going to hear about some others this afternoon. But let's get to some of the good stuff, right? We've refined how we reach you. We've refined how we think about contracting. And then we needed to really think about transition commercialization. Right? That is, not only is that a goal of the Sbirsttr and STTR policy directive, but that's a goal of DARPA in general. I said earlier, I don't want you to be a one-hit wonder. So we really need to start thinking about transition and commercialization from the outset. Now, sometimes I hear concern. So I'm just going to put out there from performers, well, your PMs are on limited tenure, and I just got an award with Andy, but I know he just said he's going to leave in a year. What's going to happen? Well, we're DARPA. We do this all the time. But what we do is we try to set you up from the outset. So if a program manager happens to rotate out, well, then the transition pathway has already been outlined. And so as a new program manager comes in, there's already a path there to help you for completion and success. So we basically break our program down into 3 different areas: engagement and education, transition partner engagement, and growth opportunities and exposure. I have a whole transition team that is dedicated to you. Once you get your phase 2 award, you meet with them and have a kickoff, and they help you outline a roadmap. They'll help you look at business plans. They help you look at areas where you think you may want to go commercially, and do we need to connect you with our commercial support office? We really try to help you bring your business to where you want to go. We also do a lot of work with our transition partners. I bring lots of people on the road whenever I travel. I went to South by Southwest about 4 years ago now, and I brought a performer with me, and the program manager came and they gave a talk. We put them on the map, and their $2 million phase 2 Sbirsttr award quickly turned into another $3 million from another agency, another $2 million from DARPA, and then they are currently in the running for an Air Force StratFi. So our job is really to try to help you open up those doors. So let's talk about, does that actually happen? So I put together a few successes just to talk with you a little bit about this. Successful transition, you can see Aquaga. They're a super cool company, and they really transitioned right from DARPA out to the Air Force. Additional funding. Vector Atomic, and I'll actually say Inflection too. Both Vector Atomic and Inflection were recipients of AppFit Awards. That's a department's research and engineering group that will give you a plus up to help with manufacturing. We have actually put many of our companies through that program. It aims to help speed up manufacturing, and Inflection, as you see, has actually merged, and they have continued to grow. They started out as Cold Quanta, rebranded as Inflection, and got some new employees. And then since the AppFit, they have continued to grow. And then we have things like our commercial transition, right? Our Hematag. We do these kind of things all the time. I actually present to our director every month a monthly update, and every month there's a new success. And he asked me one day why he thinks that is. Because, years ago, it used to be a DARPA Sbirsttr performer took about 8 years to achieve transition success. We have slashed that. And if you were to ask me why, I think it is because we now have buy-in of the companies and the program managers. Everybody's invested and partnering from the start. And so when you are working together and partnering from the start, it really helps you speed up your transition and your commercialization aspects. And honestly, 8 years is too long. Your bold ideas that matter lose relevance if I can't figure out a way for you to continue to grow. And so that is what we do. But let's talk a little bit about showing, less telling, because we sit here and we chat with you guys about the ways to work with DARPA. And we talk about all these innovations that we're doing and all these successes. But I know sometimes, especially when you are putting proposals in and maybe your win rate is 25%, that can be a little frustrating and disincentivizing. So I always wonder, can I show you how this actually happens? And I am actually really excited to show you BioSqueeze. They are a Montana-based company. They were one of our first round of our Sbirsttr Excel recipients. They had 3 people, I believe, on payroll when we started working with them. And they had never thought about working in the defense industry until we approached them. And I'd rather show rather than tell. You guys can see some of their successes, but this is where we started. And let me show you where we are today.
Thank you, Jen. With that, let's welcome Mark Rinaldi.
We're gonna show them first.
Ignore everything I
Hi, my name is Matthew Pava. I'm a program manager in the Biological Technologies Office at DARPA, and I'm excited to give you an update on BioSqueeze, one of DARPA's Small Business Innovation Research recipients, which has successfully tested a groundbreaking material called biocement, which can quickly build pavements in hard-to-reach locations.
Our initial focus as a business has been on repairing cement and concrete-based infrastructure. DARPA opened our eyes to some of the military applications, and we were brought in on one of the Sbirsttrs, asked to look at deploying our technology for hardening beaches, for beach landing, for military applications, for driving in sandy environments. Working under the Sbirsttr program, the larger funding source, has allowed us to scale our team, scale our work, has allowed us to move well beyond lab work, and is actually going to be wrapping up with a major field demonstration.
BioSqueeze traveled to the coasts of North Carolina, where they took biocement for a test drive, literally. They deployed biocement on unpacked sand, and within days were able to drive full-size vehicles on this brand new path without getting stuck, ranging from a joint lightweight tactical vehicle, which is 2 axles and 14,000 pounds, to a logistics vehicle system replacement, or a wrecker, which is 5 axles and weighs 54,000 pounds. The demonstration showed a major difference between the treated and untreated areas of Onslow Beach.
So for the warfighter, this breakthrough means that we have a technology that could potentially impact the way that we make repairs to pavement surfaces in a contingency operation. Let's say you have a situation where the logistics and supply of the heavy vehicles and supplies needed to do a typical pavement repair isn't accessible to the warfighter. This could be a stand-in those situations. Or alternatively, it might be a useful case to stand up temporary basing that allows you to traffic vehicles throughout the base as opposed to having them get stuck in the sand. To learn more about DARPA's small business initiatives, please visit the link on your screen.
Apologies for getting ahead of myself there. Now let's welcome Mark Nally of BioSqueeze to the stage in conversation with Jen. Back to you.